Hey everyone, this is Fox 10 investigative reporter Justin Lum here with Rex Connor, Lori Vallow's uncle. We are clearly coming off some big news on Monday, July 31st, when Lori Vallow was sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murders of J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and the conspiracy for the murder of Tammy Daybell. So Rex, thank you for just coming on with me and talking about everything that transpired in the courtroom. I mean, really, that had to be a lot, especially taking me through the moments of when Lori decided to speak.
That was a surprise. We'd heard it might happen, but we'd heard that before, during the trial. For example, when the verdicts came out, she had the opportunity. We had heard before that several times from inside sources about different defenses she might want to use, and that she was really looking forward to speaking. We dreaded that because we were afraid it would come out like it did yesterday. But we're surprised that she did it, and I'll carry on without you asking the question. We were just disgusted by it. The only emotion I can describe adequately is I just felt rage when I heard what she said. So that was our reaction to it.
Yeah, it was extremely quiet, and I heard some people gasp when she decided that she was going to speak, because like you said, not many people expected it, but people close to the situation had heard the whispers of maybe she will. And this comes off very powerful victim impact statements by Kay Woodcock, JJ's grandmother, Vicky Hoban, Samantha William, family of Tammy Daybell. Even Colby Ryan's statement was read by Rob Wood, to address the judge, but really the situation surrounding his own mother. And then Lori's moment really took over that room, and everything she said just seemed like so bizarre, like we weren't in reality. I can say for me, because I didn't expect it, I was like, what am I hearing right now? From saying that Jesus knows her, that she can talk to people in the afterlife. Obviously, these things made you really angry. But what about her saying that no murders happened at all in this case, even pointing to possible suicide and accidents?
Well, that was just part of the infuriating refuse that she dished out. And look who she's talking to. She's talking to people that know better. She just went through the trial. She heard what all of us heard. And of course, she's not in touch with reality. I'm so enraged. My youngest daughter tried to speak some common sense to me when I talked to her on the phone about it. My youngest daughter had been Lori's nanny, the nanny to Tylee and JJ. She said, "Dad, she's mentally ill. My expectations of her are very low, so I'm not upset about it." And I thought, my expectations are dirt low, and but I'm just enraged by it. There's just mental illness isn't an excuse to dish out what she dished out.
And Judge Boyce talked about it. He acknowledged the recent diagnosis of personality disorder, a delusional disorder. I mean, you heard it, with narcissistic features, hyper religiosity. Did you care about that, or what did you think? Were you surprised at finally hearing kind of some a medical report or mental health report, I guess you could say?
I had heard some of that already through my sister, who talks with Lori and had some of that information. So I wasn't surprised by any of it. Clearly, there's mental illness. I didn't know what, and still don't know what names to attach to it. Although they said them, they didn't stick with me. But she's still aware of her surroundings. She's still aware of right and wrong. There's nothing that excuses her from the decisions she made. And yesterday, she made decisions consciously, knowing, and obviously she knows the difference between right and wrong, because she consciously lied. If she were so mentally ill that she couldn't make conscious decisions, she would have spewed the same stuff she spewed to get Alex and Zulema and the Melanies involved, stuff about zombies and she had to kill them for their own good. She didn't say any of that because she consciously knew that wouldn't get her what she wanted. So she was aware, she's making conscious choices on what she made, and it just disgusts me.
And you mentioned your sister, Lori's mom, Janice. Just what is she going through right now? Obviously, this has got to be a tough time now that she's actually in prison now.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Janice yesterday or today, so I don't know what's going on, but I don't know anyway how she functions every day. Can you imagine that burden, Justin, that she carries? How does she do that? How does she function day to day? I ask her that almost every time I talk to her. How can you function? How can you get out of bed? And she says basically the same thing. She says, well, the Lord sustains me. So I get up, we go work out at the gym and carry on our daily routines, but I don't know how she functions.
From your perspective, I mean, this family has been through a lot because of this case. How does this affect the family as a whole, the legacy, and just everything about it?
I don't think anyone in the family is worrying about the legacy. Everyone's trying to, and I'm going to talk about the Cox family in particular. Not that I know everything, but I am close to them, have been my entire life. And they're just, all of us struggle, all of us that hear this. I don't know if everyone's enraged like I am, but it offends all of us. What she did offends all of us. We all need to heal from that. We've all heard the story and are scarred by it. And so their family has just been, of course, there's a big rift early on, and they are making inroads and trying to heal. Not that their family will ever be the same, but they're talking to each other and they're trying to process together and trying to come to terms and be able to deal with their differences, different opinions, different beliefs in the situation. And it's hard, and they're in the midst of it. So as I said, I don't think they are concerned about their legacy as much as what's the rest of today and tomorrow going to bring. It really is a day-to-day struggle.
And you just went through a big project with Adam Cox, Lori's brother, with the podcast and everything. So I'm sure you guys talk, and this has got to be difficult for him, especially being that he was so close to Lori, and we had our conversation before the sentencing. But hearing what everyone has heard with the statement and the sentencing, yeah, surreal and just bizarre. I would think.
Yeah, we've talked twice since then. Adam and I have. Of course, we're doing the podcast together. We're writing a book together about it, and that's pretty recent. Just in the last month, he's felt healthy enough that, as you know, he didn't do a lot of interviews before, Justin, and
Yeah.
he felt healthy enough that, okay, I can do this. I can talk in public about it, and it's hard. It's hard for him, and you can tell on the podcast that it's difficult to sort through this and to gain the ability to be in public. I can't imagine being as close as he is and be able to speak in public. I was thrilled that Summer, his sister, gave a statement through our friend Nate yesterday. I was thrilled that she felt good enough to do that, and what she said was just beautiful tribute to Tylee. I was happy with that, but that's hard for them to be in public, especially with what's happened. And Summer and Janice, after their terrible situation going on and defending Lori, and then finding out they had been betrayed. I just admire whatever efforts they can make along those lines. And I think they're doing better than I would do in this situation, better than most of us expect from them, Adam especially.
Yeah, and speaking of, the interviews that they have done or haven't done through the past, obviously you have probably tracked this story since the beginning, seeing Lori Vallow's, driver's license photo and knowing police were looking for her, looking for Chad, trying to make sure that the kids were okay, JJ and Tylee find their whereabouts. So you've been following this, but I'm curious to know, at what point or points were you thinking to yourself, maybe should I speak out? Should I say something, or should I let this unfold, and just kind of stay in my role right here?
Well, not only did I think I had nothing to offer the public and say something in public early on, because I started following it when Charles sent us all the emails that are public now and telling us, hey, Lori's going off the deep end. And I made a decision then. I talked to my sister and I said, is there a way to get a hold of Lori? And she said, I'm cut off from Lori right now, so I can't even get a hold of her. So knowing that there's nothing I could do to influence at the time, I didn't get involved. I couldn't get involved with Lori. Didn't have any influence with her at that point. Of course, we lived separately since she was 2 years old, in different cities most of the time. So it's not like we were hanging out and talking every week or every month. Uh, I feel we had a close relationship, but it was mostly at family reunions, etc. But I didn't have any influence in this situation. And so the only reason I started talking to the media, of course, you were there. My three daughters and I came to the trial there in Boise, and my daughters really didn't want to speak with the media. And I said, well, I'm fine with it. I'll speak with the media and you can go in and out of the courthouse, and I'll talk to people in the media so you don't get stopped. That's the only reason I started talking to the media.
Gotcha.
And my 15 minutes of fame is extended to maybe 23 minutes, 24 minutes, because, and I choose to do it now because I'm so grateful to the media. And I see all the people, and I understand why people don't talk to the media, but good grief, you are such an important part of the healing from this tragedy. And you're carrying the message all over the world. I just feel obligated out of gratitude to support you any way I can. So if I have anything that might benefit the public, I'm glad to share it. I
Well, I
just wish
appreciate
I had
that.
more.
We don't always get that sort of treatment. So I appreciate that you saying that. And you kind of flew under the radar in the beginning of trial because how would we know that you were Lori's uncle unless we had seen photos of you and just knew, and somebody said something. But I know people would eventually say, well, you kind of looked like Alex, or Alex looked like you. I'm sure you've heard that. Obviously, you guys are family members, so there are features that you see. And I was like, oh, okay, I can totally see that.
That's been a
Obviously,
family joke for quite some time, since he started losing his hair, in fact.
yeah,
That's been
it's
a family
yeah,
joke. Well, I can
yeah.
take that.
Definitely, you smile. I see a lot more smiling from you than what I've seen in the images. But the point is, now that you are able to speak about this, you can offer insight into the timeline and some context. And you say you were also part of that chain that got messages from Charles, right? And he was very alarmed. But why didn't anyone really listen? Or maybe they did, but no one really acted. Really, only Kay, his sister, had his back.
Um, I don't, I don't quite agree with that representation. All respect to you because you've been with it from the beginning and know a whole lot more details than I do, but it's not like people were um, inactive behind the scenes,
Okay.
especially Adam, Brandon. They were talking, trying to help anywhere they could, and they couldn't do very much as active as they were being. And so the police didn't do very much. People talk a lot about why didn't they call the police? Good grief, we had the body cam of Charles begging the police to help and not being able to get that help. So I
Mhm.
think there was more going on behind the scenes that people know about and can appreciate. But there's so much unknown at the time, so much uncertainty, so much fear. Can you imagine being Brandon Boudreaux and wondering, can you imagine working for Brandon Boudreaux and being scared to show up for work because some crazy guy might come in and start shooting? And how does that affect Brandon, his friends, their family? And yet Brandon bravely did more than people know behind the scenes. Brandon and his friends. So I think there was more going on than people generally know, but you have to take it in the context of what was going on at the time, the fear, and no one, they hadn't started their killing spree. There was, rumors, etc. And until Charles was killed, that wasn't as real as it was when he was killed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then all the fear goes on. Where's Alex? Is he coming after me next? Not me personally. I'm saying that was a common thought. Think of Adam, Zach, Charles. I'm sorry, not Charles, but Brandon. I just think we don't know enough to say that Charles wasn't getting support.
Yeah, you mentioned the body cam. Clearly, Charles was pleading for help, and it seemed like he was looked at like he was odd or off and didn't make any sense with the allegations he was making. And that's stemming back to January 2019. And you do make a point, Brandon Boudreaux, he did do a lot of work behind the scenes with investigators coming off the attempted murder in October 2019. And Adam was definitely in communication with Charles, right up until July 11, 2019. Do you think maybe an intervention, like a family intervention, if everyone was on the same page or united, could have, prevented this? I know we look at this in hindsight is 2020, but what about some sort of intervention?
No, I don't think so, because Lori had at that time already created her delusion. You go from fantasy to delusion, and she was in it with Chad. They had created that. So a family intervention, let's say, for example, Janice and Summer hadn't believed Lori, which they did, but those were the key people. Even they got cut off, Justin, during this time. She was not listening to them. And they're the only people that had any shot at the time, but they couldn't even communicate with her about it. She was lying to them. She was gaslighting them. No one had influence on Lori at the time that could have gotten her out of it. It was her and Chad in their little created delusion, and just kept creating it, and they got to suck Alex in to it too. So he couldn't be a resource. So my personal belief is that no, that there wasn't that opportunity. Lori wasn't having it once she started creating her delusion with Chad.
I've never asked this. We're not really focusing on Alex, but going back to 2008, I believe it was in Travis County, was in Austin, Texas. He tased Joseph Ryan. And for the people who don't know, Joseph Ryan is Lori's third husband and the biological father of Tylee Ryan. What was your knowledge of that incident and what happened? Were there any red flags, or did everyone or did family members believe he was doing something to help the family or protect the family in some way?
I'll tell you what, right away, I was close to Alex at the time, and right away, the family story was, Alex was doing something good because we had bought in. I'm sorry to say, I since checked out, but we had bought in to what I believe now is gaslighting about Joe Ryan. Okay, maybe there's some truth in it, maybe not. I don't know, but I know just looking since then at psychological reports, etc., it certainly wasn't what we were hearing at the time. And why say we, family members? So
Okay.
we were much more team Lori at that time and feeling like, yeah, like Joe was a child molester. And so the fact that Alex tased him, okay, he, it, we didn't see it as a murder attempt. We didn't, those of us, at least I didn't see it as a murder attempt. Um, we saw it as, okay, here's Alex standing up for his sister because they're having this terrible divorce battle. Okay. Now, in hindsight, maybe we'd see it differently, but we didn't have that in hindsight, of course.
Yeah.
And so we didn't take it nearly as seriously as it turned out to be. I was going to say as we should have, but we didn't know. And we were operating under the gaslighted assumption that he was all evil and Lori was only protecting her children. And I believe she was protecting her children, but now in retrospect, we can look back and say maybe there's a lot more than that.
I mean, Alex pleaded guilty to that charge. He
Mhm.
did jail time
Yep.
in Travis County. He wrote letters regarding Joe, and even seen if he could get his license plate, according to one of Alex's good friends that was riding with him at the time.
Right.
So, and we see it in the police reports and in the trial evidence or testimony that he was this protector. Do you agree? And has that always been the case? This really deep loyalty to Lori, this relationship.
I believe it was at the time. I don't think it was as deep as when he bought in. He had his conversion to their what people call a cult. I'll call it their warped belief system. He had a conversion to that, an experience. Whereas one day or one week he was laughing at it, and the next week he had bought in completely with some of the podcasts he listened to. And so at that point is when he became the avenging angel or whatever she called him in the, in the text that we, or in the text or emails that we've all seen. So obviously he has some loyalty to her during the Joe Ryan battle. But he wasn't bought into that whole, what did Judge Boyce call it? I loved it. Bizarre religious rabbit hole.
The rabbit hole, yeah. He
Yeah.
said that yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
then when he had that conversion experience, he went down the rabbit hole with him, and yes, he was all in at that point.
is it hard to believe that even how many years has it been now? Almost 4 years. But really, she had been in this affair with Chad Daybell, and being taught or uh, practicing this even 2018, maybe late 2018. Is it hard to believe that she may still really be in that rabbit hole, like Judge Boy says, or was that part of an act in court?
My belief on that, Justin, is the way our mind works when and all of us, we aren't near Lori, but when there's something in our life that our conscience says, hey, don't do that, and we say, I really want to, it causes, what they call in psychology, cognitive dissonance. That causes us pain to have that conflict. And if we really choose to do it anyway, we adjust our belief system or we adjust our life so we can still do what we want without that pain. We make a fantasy part of our life. Well, when the fantasy gets to the point that other people are recognizing that we are losing it, that's what we call a delusion. And so when we get in the delusion, it's gone so far that, yeah, we'll believe it. We didn't believe it when we made allowance for it. And when something new comes in, we have to make more allowances because we aren't dealing with reality. And so I believe that every time something came up for Chad and Lori, they just made crap up to accomplish what they want to accomplish with whatever weak mind they were trying to sway. And at that time, they knew they were making crap up. But as soon as it became part of their delusion, they bought into it wholeheartedly. Because can you imagine, Justin, if Lori came out of her delusion now and acknowledged, good grief, I murdered my children, chopped them up, threw them away like garbage, and went to dance on the beach. You know, a human can't, I don't know how a human would deal with that reality. So I think she's going to stay in that delusion and keep making crap up to adjust it for whatever situation she's in. So in that sense, she believes it. But when they made it up, they knew they weren't dealing with reality. They were making crap up. That's my belief on it.
Your reaction to seeing her prison mugshot today?
Nothing. I think I'm beyond all that. You know, the first time I saw her in prison clothes was the first time it became real to me, and I cried at that. Good grief, our Lolo is, you know, in prison, but so much has transpired with him, and to know what she did to people's lives, that's now reached out all over the world, but particularly the victims that they killed and the victims that lost so much, like Colby, her son, good grief, and Brandon and Melanie, and breaking up that family. Just no, I'm kind of beyond reacting to seeing her in person or seeing the pictures of her. So she's where she needs to be for the rest of her life.
Yeah, I'm sure people have asked you this, but do you recognize the person that you see now?
Um, you know, because of that little belief system I have that I just explained to you, yeah, I know that she used to be the Lolo that we all loved, the fun-loving Lolo that would like to control the situation, but you know, enjoyed life, very, very patient as a mom, loving as a mom, loving as a niece, and a family member. And I know that person's gone. I think my daughter Christy said it well when she did an interview with Nate Eaton at the trial, and said that coming to the trial was like coming to Lori's funeral, where he said, okay, that person's gone. You know, you see the body for closure. That person's gone. The person we knew, we loved, and enjoyed so much. This is a different person there, so we can say goodbye and put it out of our mind, like a couple of the victims said yesterday. I thought that was a very, very fitting description. They said, I think it was Tammy's sister and Kay said, we don't have to think about you anymore.
So it was like this person who felt she was a hero and going to save the world and lead the 144,000 had become the villain. And that person that you knew just didn't exist anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
She made that crap up. And she was a different person when she did. And now she's in it and believes it and is going to stay in that. Yeah. So the Lori that we knew is gone.
You say your daughter was the nanny for her kids at one point, right?
My youngest daughter, yes.
And so that's a lot of time in a household, and you know, you're part of the family. You are family, and you are in the inner workings of the family routine and the system of that household. Are there any stories or memories of what she was like as a mom? We've heard the adjectives, great mom, kind, patient, like you said, but just little things that she did that obviously remind you of someone that you don't know now.
No, Kaylee, that daughter's name is Kaylee, and she doesn't have any of that saying, well, she did do this behind the scenes, or she did blow up at JJ, you know, when no one was looking. There is none of that. So Kaylee tells the same story. And Zach, Adam's son, lived with her right up until Charles was killed. I mean, he was the more recent one. And he talks about the crazy beliefs she had, but not the character. I haven't heard him say anything about the character changing until, of course, the that event.
Yeah. And I remember, thank you for bringing up Zach. I enjoyed getting to know Zach and talking to Zach, and obviously he's had his own trauma with this and reliving this in a way. And I know that he's from a distance kept track of what's developed. But I remember him telling me that he saw the Word document with the rubric, the light and dark spirits and the ratings, and he had no idea what it was. But I remember him saying Lori had asked him to go grab it for her, and just to know now what that meant at the time is mind blowing. But Rex, last thing, coming out of this sentencing and closing one chapter to this story that has impacted your whole family, what do you take from it that you move on with into the next chapter, which is Chad's trial?
I don't anticipate we'll be as active in his trial, but the cause that Adam and I feel strongly about, which is helping people heal, healing ourselves and helping other people heal, which is healing ourselves. That's what we're focused on. So any opportunity we have because of Chad's trial, we'll take. If we don't have the opportunity, if our contribution, runs out here at this point, we're okay with that. But if we can help people heal and continue our healing that way, we'll be a part of wherever that takes us.
Hey Rex, thank you so much for joining me and just opening up about your family. I really appreciate it.
Well, we all appreciate your work, Justin, me included, and you're a great interviewer. You're great at your job. So thanks for giving me a chance to share that message and to share my thanks to you. Of course, the same thanks goes to the Army of Law Enforcement, the Army of Legal People, but also to the people that'll listen to this, the people that follow you, the people that listen to all the different podcasts that are available. Of course, I'm partial to the people that listen to ours, but I know some people don't like us at all. And I'm even okay with that because we're all still on the same team. We're all still looking for justice, and we're all trying to heal from it and share healing and share the love that brings that healing. So I'm just glad to be a part of it. And thank you for letting me be a little bit more of a part of it today.